Artificial intelligence is triggering one of the biggest technology spending waves in decades. Governments, tech giants, and corporations are pouring hundreds of billions into AI data centers. They're investing in robotics and next-generation computing infrastructure. But here's the strange part. While investors chase the trillion-dollar AI leaders, some companies building critical technology are overlooked. These companies, underneath the entire system, are still trading for just a few dollars per share. Right now, two companies in this hidden AI infrastructure layer trade at roughly $6 and $4, and most investors have never even heard of them. But here's where it gets interesting. One company works on technology helping robots learn and adapt in real-world environments. The other develops semiconductor technology to improve the performance of AI chips themselves. So the real question becomes, if AI infrastructure spending keeps accelerating, why are these companies overlooked? That's exactly what we're going to break down today. AI isn't just about chatbots anymore. The next expansion phase is across automation, robotics, semiconductor technology, and advanced computing. Factories are adopting intelligent robotics, defense systems are integrating autonomous technology, and data centers are racing to deploy more powerful chips capable of running massive AI workloads. But attention in the market is still concentrated on the obvious names. And that creates a strange dynamic, because sometimes the supporting infrastructure companies receive far less attention. This is where pricing inefficiencies usually exist. It's also the type of layer institutions quietly watch, because these businesses often sit earlier in the supply chain. Now, this doesn't guarantee anything. Markets take time to recognize certain technologies, but it explains why this area matters. And historically, this is exactly where smaller cap opportunities tend to form. The first company operates in a space most investors rarely think about when discussing AI, robotics intelligence. Not the robots themselves, but the software layer that allows machines to learn from real-world environments. Think about what happens when an autonomous system enters a warehouse, a factory floor, or a defense scenario. The machine has to interpret data, make decisions, and adapt to unpredictable environments. And that's extremely difficult. But here's the catch. Traditional automation systems rely on rigid programming. Modern AI robotics require something different. They need adaptive learning systems that allow machines to observe, understand, and respond dynamically. Now, this is where things start to get interesting, because companies building this kind of technology are quietly becoming part of the AI robotics infrastructure layer. And later, we'll look at a completely different company connected to AI semiconductor technology. But first, let's stay with this one. Robotics powered by AI is expanding across multiple industries. Manufacturing automation, logistics and warehouse operations, infrastructure inspection, and even defense applications. But for AI robotics to scale, machines need software that can process real-world data and continuously improve their behavior. If this layer expands, companies providing those learning systems naturally become more critical. Because they're not just selling hardware, they're building the intelligence framework that allows machines to operate autonomously. And that's a very different level of technology. Now let's look at something important. This stock has already experienced major volatility in the past. At one point, it traded significantly higher as excitement around AI robotics started building. Then the price pulled back and stabilized near the mid-single-digit range. And now the question becomes, was that early excitement simply hype? Or was the market pricing in the potential of an industry that may still be in its early stages? That's the uncertainty investors are trying to figure out right now. The company focuses on developing AI software systems that help robots learn and adapt in real-world environments. This technology can be applied across sectors like industrial automation, autonomous systems, defense robotics, and infrastructure inspection. So instead of competing with robot manufacturers, It sits one layer deeper, providing the intelligent software. And when you actually look at the company behind this technology, it's Paladine AI Corp. Ticker symbol PDYN, and the stock is currently trading around 6.42 per share. So why hasn't the market fully priced this in? Because companies like this operate in emerging industries, where adoption takes time, revenue growth can be uneven, technology cycles are unpredictable, and this doesn't mean it moves tomorrow. There are real risks here. Timing is always the key factor with smaller infrastructure companies. Now, before we get into the second stock, here's something most people completely overlook. Even though AI demand is exploding, many supporting infrastructure companies are still experiencing delayed market reactions. That's because the market often focuses on the most visible players first, and only later begins to recognize the companies building the layers underneath. And the second company operates in one of the most critical layers of all. But unlike the first company, which focuses on AI robotics software, this one operates much closer to the semiconductor layer, because every AI system from data centers to robotics ultimately relies on advanced chips, capable of processing enormous amounts of data. But here's the catch. Improving chip performance isn't just about designing new processors. Sometimes it's about enhancing the underlying materials used to build them. This company develops technology designed to improve transistor performance inside semiconductor chips. The idea is simple in theory. Make chips faster, more power efficient, and better suited for advanced computing workloads, like artificial intelligence. In practice, that's extremely complex engineering. But if successful, technologies like this can be adopted by major semiconductor manufacturers. If AI adoption continues expanding across data centers, robotics, and edge computing, then demand for higher performance chips naturally increases. And that means technologies capable of improving semiconductor performance become more valuable. That's the strategic position this company is trying to occupy. This stock has also experienced its own price cycles. In earlier periods, it traded significantly higher when semiconductor innovation became a major investment theme. Then, the price pulled back as market sentiment shifted. Now it sits around the mid-$4 range, which raises an interesting question. Is the market waiting for stronger adoption signals? Or is this simply another early-stage technology cycle? This is where it gets interesting. The company behind this semiconductor technology is Atomera Incorporated, ticker symbol ATOM, and the stock currently trades around $4.49 per share. Semiconductor technology companies often face long development and adoption cycles. Large manufacturers move cautiously. Testing and integration can take years, so this doesn't guarantee anything. There are real risks here. But if adoption happens, the upside potential tends to appear later in the cycle. So now the interesting comparison begins. The first company sits inside AI robotics intelligence. The second sits inside semiconductor performance technology. One benefits if autonomous systems expand across industries. The other benefits if demand for more powerful AI chips accelerates. But the timing could be very different. Robotics adoption could expand steadily as industries automate operations. Semiconductor innovation could move slower, but potentially impact much larger markets. So the real question becomes, which layer benefits faster if AI infrastructure spending keeps rising? The software intelligence layer or the chip technology layer underneath it? That's the strategic decision investors often debate with companies like these. When you zoom out, both companies sit inside a much larger story, the expansion of AI infrastructure. Not the consumer applications, not the headlines, but the deeper layers powering automation, robotics, and advanced computing. And historically, this is the layer that tends to move later in technology cycles. But when adoption accelerates, it can sometimes move much more aggressively. which is exactly why institutions watch these infrastructure layers closely. If you enjoy exploring smaller AI infrastructure companies like these, subscribe for more breakdowns of emerging technology stocks that most investors overlook, because sometimes the most interesting opportunities sit far below the surface of the market.